Hey everybody, welcome back to another lesson at 101 Guitar Lessons. My name is Lauren. Thanks so much for joining me today. We're going to be talking about slides and how to play slide on the guitar. If you're a beginner and you want to get introduced to the slide, this is definitely the video for you. Before we get into it, please remember to press that subscribe button, like and share these videos with everyone you know on social media. Every little bit of your support really does help, and it helps grow the channel. Make sure you leave comments and suggestions down below and requests for different lessons. But right now, we're going to talk about slide and how to play slide on the guitar. Now, it can be played on acoustic and electric, and we're going to cover both. You can do it a couple different ways. Now, what is a slide? Well, it started out where people would just sort of, like Delta blues, you know, they'd cut a pipe or the top of a glass bottle or a medicine bottle, and they put that on their finger and they'd slide, and it creates a certain kind of sound. Now you can buy pre-made slides, thankfully, in guitar stores and online, and I'll have links to those below to a few different options. All different types of materials, from ceramic, brass, glass, metal, you name it. And they all have a slightly different sound and feel. So the important thing when you're learning to play slide is to really try a few different slides out. They're going to be different sizes, different thickness, and you'll hear a different tonality and feel as well. So let me show you. I've got two slides with me today. I've got a metal slide and a glass slide. These are probably the most popular options, but again, ceramic is making a bit of a comeback these days, so you never know. All right, this is what a slide will sound like. I'm not going to play anything musical, just to hear it on the strings. All right, you can get that. All right, you can get that sort of sound, as opposed to the metal slide, which will sound a little bit different. All right, and I'm playing with my fingers, and I'm not playing anything really musical, but it gives you that idea of that really bluesy Delta. What notes am I playing when I'm doing that? Well, let's play it with the glass. Oh. That's what I played. All right. So I'm playing, oh, sorry. That's what I'm doing. So I'm playing the minor pentatonic scale. If you don't know the minor pentatonic scale, definitely check out these videos here. You'll learn how to get it under your fingers. But there's no magical notes that we're playing right here that aren't always played with your fingers. It's just that you're playing it with a slide. And you have to understand the attack of the slide and how to approach it so that it sounds in tune, because quite often when people learn how to play the slide, it sounds way out of tune. So when you're playing notes like this, we'll just use that same lick. Fifth position, fourth position. That's where the notes are coming from. You're going to play in between the frets, and if you have good technique, you're going to play as close to the fret as possible for each of the notes. Because if I'm not, I can be kind of here and it'll choke out, or it can sound a little bit out of tune. But those are the notes. Now, if I did that with the slide, I'll use the metal slide for a minute. With slide specifically, I like to play with my fingers because it gives me that much more control. I can mute, rest my thumb, my palm, all the other strings that I'm playing other than. So take a close look at what I'm doing here. So I've got my hand resting on all 6 strings. I've even got my thumb specifically resting all the way down, and the bottom part of my thumb here, the underside, is laying across the strings and resting on the 5th string here, because I'm just playing the 6th string. So when I do that, I've got everything else muted. Now you can still hear some extraneous noise in the background, some overtones. How do I quiet that down? Well, I'll lay my fingers down behind the slide. Now that really narrows it down to just the note that I want to hear. Now, if I'm playing in between the frets like I was before, it sounds out of tune until I go right above the fret itself. So you want to make sure that when you're playing with a slide, you're actually hovering directly over the fret. You want to be as straight as possible, not necessarily on an angle, okay, unless it's on purpose to catch different notes, but very specifically directly in line with the fret, over the fret, and that's how you play with a slide, whereas you'd play in between the frets. All right. So you want to make sure that you're hovering over top of the frets when you're playing with a slide. I'm going to stick with this one for a few minutes just so that we can see what's going on. So when I'm playing that, all right, I've got the muting on my right hand. I've got the muting with my left fingers behind the slide, and that really isolates the note that I want to hear. Now, of course, when I move to the second string, my hand adjusts to allow that string to ring out. Let's take a closer look. So here we are. I'm now touching the high E string with another finger to mute that. I usually tend to mute on one on either side so that I just have the note. See how I'm just sort of like moving like this? I'm kind of muting the strings on either side, and I want to make sure that only that note comes. Now sometimes you want that a little bit wilder sound, so you lift up your back finger, or if you want it more precise, you can do that. Or you can do more than one string, you can do double stops. Okay? The other thing that you'll notice when you're playing slide is people tend to use a vibrato. Rather than a vibrato like this, it'll be more side to side. So you're starting on the note itself. Again, I'm going to use my muting technique to just play the note I want, and then rock it a little bit above and a little bit below the fret. Very small. You can do that, but it sounds like a spring that just got shot out of the back of a guitar or something. So you can do a very even is the key. So you can do it quickly as long as you're even or slow. And you don't always have to. And you can go ahead and use a vibrato after you hit on the note. So these are different tips that you can use. Again, if you're just using the minor pentatonic scale first position, let's play an A for a minute, A minor. Oh. Okay. Sorry, I almost played the blues, the blues scale rather than just the pentatonic scale there, so that was the bit of a hiccup. But you can go ahead and play. You'll find that you'll play more along one string, moving through the positions with a slide, because rather than going across the strings, going up and down a string is a lot easier. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Now, to play, you'll see people holding slides on their fourth finger, some on their first finger, second finger. I don't know. I like it on my third finger. It gives me more options to be able to play chords while still having a slide on my finger. Anyway, I'm goofing around now. The point is you can goof around, play, experiment, but you're just playing the notes of the scale. But this is just an introduction, okay? Not a full-on lesson, but there's a lot of different techniques that you can use with a slide that can get different types of sounds and nuances and variations rather than just playing it straight on without a slide. We'll get into that maybe in another lesson. But you'll hear there's a definite tonal difference between the glass and the metal slide. Let's move over to an electric guitar and see what ways that people use the slide on an electric guitar. Again, this is in standard tuning. Before I move to the electric guitar, let's just talk about the idea of open tunings. So some people will tune the guitar to like open E, someone like Derek Trucks or Dwayne Allman. Or you're looking at like open tunings like open G or open D, where they're basically tuning to where you strum the guitar and it's a chord. So you can just play all the way across and you're playing a chord, rather than with a standard tuning you can't really do that. You can just get little bits and triads. but not all the way across. So that's a cool sound too. You hear that a lot in Delta blues and in some cool rock and roll tunes. Yeah, let's go on to the electric guitar and talk about that for a minute. So here we are with the electric guitar, and basically you can do the same stuff you were doing with the acoustic guitar. Let me grab one of the slides here. Now every style of guitar will sound different with a different style of slide. Again, we'll use the glass and metal as an example. That's the metal and the glass. Now, I don't know if the subtleties will be picked up by the microphone or not, but you can definitely hear a tonal difference. I tend to prefer metal. And I know I'm weird that way because a lot of people will prefer glass. And I mean, I love the tone of Derek Trucks, and he plays glass slides. So what are you going to do? But for me personally, I like the sound of a metal slide. Definitely on an acoustic guitar, but also on an electric guitar, which may sound harsh to some people, but I tend to like darker tones anyway. So I'll roll the tone back when I'm playing a slide, or even without slide. I like that kind of sound. What am I going to say? So now a lot of people will want some extra sustain. If you listen to Lowell George from, I was going to say the Dixie Chicks, which is totally not, I was thinking Dixie Chicken, from Little Feat, the band Little Feat, Lowell George. He used like a socket wrench, I think, which was metal, a very thick piece of metal. And he had amazing sustain, but he was also using compressors. So things to use in conjunction with a slide would be some overdrive, distortion, or compression, okay? One or together. I'll switch over to the drive channel on this amp. Wow, that is super loud. So I'm going to make sure that it's not too loud for the microphone. But there is some drive, which gives it automatically some more sustain, which means that you can play one note. I can do a little more volume than that. There we go. All right, there you go. A little Allman Brothers style slide playing. Again, back to that. All right, so bottom line is you can use, distortion to add sustain, or you can use a compression pedal as well. And those are some tools that you can use in conjunction with slide. Standard tuning, you can use open tuning, which is cool. It opens it up to a whole bunch of cool sounds, but you have to, when you're playing single lines, really shift your mental images, if you will, of the scales that you know, because the intervals are going to be different. So keep that in mind as well. That's it for an introduction to slide guitar playing. Again, if you want to cover muting technique, you mute with your right hand, mute with the fingers behind the slide, and you just hear the notes. Without that, you got a whole bunch of extra sound that isn't necessary and hides from the actual notes that you're playing. So work on your muting technique. That is really tip number one when it comes to slide playing. Work on your two-handed muting technique, and then work in different sounds and tones and your vibrato, and make sure your intonation is right. You're playing directly over the frets. That's pretty much it for this lesson. Make sure you tune into other lessons. Check out the suggested video up top. Press subscribe, like, and share. Every little bit of your support really helps. And if you have comments or suggestions or questions, leave them down below. We'll definitely check it out. And check out the links for links to different types of slides that you can check out as well. All right, I'll see you guys on the next lesson. Take care.